Hello there, and welcome to the Peaceful Sleep Channel. I'm so glad you've found your way here, to this quiet corner of the world. Perhaps it has been a long day, or perhaps you are simply someone who finds comfort in the deep and gentle mysteries of our planet. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. There is nothing you need to do now but rest. Let your breath slow, your shoulders soften, and your body grow heavy, as if cradled by a calm, endless sea. Because tonight, we are drifting out over the ocean, a world that covers most of our planet, yet remains largely unknown. We won't be diving into its deepest trenches just yet. Instead, we'll float gently on its surface, listening to its oldest rhythms and learning its quietest secrets. From the silent pull of the moon to waves that carry the memory of distant storms. The ocean is a story written in water, wind, and light. Some of what you hear may feel familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Other facts may surprise you, like finding a hidden galaxy in a single drop of water. And if these calm explorations help you unwind or give you a peaceful way to end your day, consider gently tapping the like button and subscribing. It helps other sleepy souls find their way here, too. But for now, let the world outside fade away. Let there be only the sound of my voice and the gentle, rolling expanse of the sea in your mind. Now, let's begin. The ocean's tides are a silent conversation between Earth and the moon. Twice a day, the world's oceans rise and fall in a slow, steady rhythm. This is the tide, and it is caused by the gravitational pull of the moon, and to a lesser extent, the sun. It is not a wave, but a bulge of water, a vast and gentle lifting of the entire ocean. As the moon circles our planet, its gravity tugs on the water, creating a bulge on the side of Earth facing it. A similar bulge forms on the opposite side, as the Earth itself is pulled slightly away from the water. As our planet spins, our coastlines move through these bulges, and we experience the rise and fall of the tide. It is a dance of immense scale, a gravitational sigh that breathes life into estuaries and shapes the shores of every continent. This rhythm is so predictable, so ancient, that countless creatures have tuned their lives to it. From crabs that scurry with the receding water to corals that spawn on the highest tides of the year. It is a heartbeat, quiet and cosmic, felt in every drop of the sea. Some waves travel for thousands of miles before they reach the shore. A wave that breaks on the beach in California may have begun its life in a storm near Japan. Waves are not the movement of water, but the movement of energy through water. The storm's winds, whipping across the ocean's surface, transfer energy to the sea, creating ripples that grow into vast, rolling swells. Once formed, these swells can travel for immense distances across the open ocean, losing very little energy along the way. They move silently, almost invisibly, until they approach a shallow coastline. There, the energy that has traveled so far, through days of sun and nights of starlight, is finally released in a crash of foam and spray. The sound you hear on a quiet beach is not just the sound of water. It is the echo of a distant storm, a memory of wind from the other side of the world, finally arriving at your feet. The ocean has a slow, deep breath that takes 1,000 years to complete. Far beneath the wind-driven waves on the surface, the deep ocean is in constant, slow motion. A vast global current, sometimes called the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt, circulates water around the entire planet. It begins in the cold polar regions, where salty water grows dense, sinks to the bottom, and begins a slow journey along the ocean floor. This deep, cold water travels for centuries, creeping through underwater canyons and across abyssal plains, before it eventually rises again in the warmer waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans. This entire cycle, from sinking to rising, can take up to 1,000 years. This slow, planetary breath is vital for life. It carries oxygen from the surface to the deep sea and brings nutrients from the depths back up to the sunlit zone, feeding the smallest plankton and, in turn, all marine life. It is the Earth's circulatory system, a quiet, patient current that connects all oceans and regulates our climate. Every raindrop that hits the ocean creates a tiny, ringing sound. The sound of rain on the ocean is not just the patter of water hitting water. It is a symphony of tiny bells. When a raindrop strikes the surface, it traps a small bubble of air just beneath it. This bubble then oscillates, vibrating rapidly for a fraction of a second before it bursts. That vibration produces a surprisingly clear, high-pitched sound. A single drop makes a single plink, but millions of drops falling together create the beautiful, shimmering white noise we associate with a rainstorm at sea. Scientists listening with sensitive underwater microphones can even tell the size of the raindrops from the pitch of the sounds they make. What feels like a soft, soothing hush to our ears is, up close, a chorus of countless tiny, musical impacts, each one a note in the ocean's oldest song. Sea foam is made from the dissolved ghosts of tiny living things. The frothy, white foam that gathers on the shore is not soap or pollution. It is a natural part of the ocean, a temporary architecture built from the remnants of life. The ocean is filled with dissolved organic matter fats, proteins, and other compounds from algae, plankton, and decaying marine creatures. When the wind and waves churn the water, this matter acts like a surfactant, the same kind of agent found in soap, allowing bubbles to form and hold their shape. The result is sea foam, a delicate, churning lace that traces the edge of the tide. It is, in a sense, a soup of life, made visible. Each bubble is a tiny testament to the immense, unseen productivity of the ocean, a fragile ghost of the countless microscopic lives that have bloomed and faded in its waters. The ocean is not silent. It is filled with a constant, gentle crackling. If you were to lower a microphone into the water of a coral reef or a kelp forest, you would hear a sound you might not expect, a steady, crackling static, like the sound of frying bacon or a crackling fire. This sound comes from millions of tiny, snapping shrimp. These small creatures have one oversized claw that they can snap shut with incredible speed, creating a tiny, powerful bubble that collapses with a loud pop. This snap is used to stun prey, communicate, or defend territory. When thousands of these shrimp snap at once, they create a continuous background hum that fills the shallow seas. This biological noise is so consistent that it provides a form of acoustic camouflage for other animals, and submarines have even been known to hide in it. It is the sound of a million tiny sparks, the constant, living static of the underwater world. The surface of the ocean acts like a vast, flexible skin. The boundary between the ocean and the air is a special place, governed by a force called surface tension. Water molecules are strongly attracted to one another, and at the surface, this attraction creates a thin, elastic-like film. This skin is strong enough to support small insects like water striders, which skate across it as if on solid ground. It's what allows a fallen leaf to float, or a carefully placed needle to rest on the water's surface without sinking. Surface tension also shapes the world in quieter ways. It's what pulls raindrops into perfect spheres and allows morning dew to cling to a spider's web. On the ocean, this invisible force calms the smallest ripples and gives the surface its smooth, glassy texture on a windless day. It is a quiet strength, holding the ocean together at its very edge. As we drift away from the shore, the world begins to change. The land softens into a distant line, and the sky opens up, vast and clear. Here, in the open ocean, we enter a realm defined not by ground, but by light. The way sunlight touches the water, the colors it reveals, and the colors it hides, all tell a story about the ocean's depth and its hidden life. It is a world of shimmering surfaces and deep, quiet blues, where color is not just a property, but a language. The ocean is blue for the same reason the sky is blue, but with a twist. The deep sapphire blue of the open ocean is not a reflection of the sky. It is the color of water itself when it is very deep and very pure. When sunlight, which contains all the colors of the rainbow, hits the ocean, the water molecules absorb the longer wavelengths of light, the reds, oranges, and yellows. The shorter, blue wavelengths are less likely to be absorbed. Instead, they are scattered and reflected back to our eyes. In shallow water, or water filled with sediment and algae, other colors can appear, but far from land. In the clear, deep ocean, only the blue light returns from the depths. It is the water's true color, the signature of its vastness and its clarity. As you go deeper, the world slowly loses its color. Descending into the ocean is like moving through a series of color filters. The first color to disappear is red. Red light has the longest wavelength, and it is absorbed by water within the first few meters of the surface. A red fish, or a diver in a red suit, would appear black or gray just a short distance below the waves. Orange and yellow follow, vanishing as you descend further. Eventually, only the blues and greens, with their shorter wavelengths, can penetrate the deepening water. This is why the underwater world so often appears in shades of blue. It is a world stripped of its warmer tones. A cool, monochromatic landscape where life has adapted to a spectrum of light very different from our own. The ocean has a twilight zone, a world of perpetual dusk. Between the sunlit surface waters and the blackness of the deep sea lies a region known as the mesopelagic zone, or the twilight zone. It begins at about 200 meters down, the point where sunlight becomes too faint for photosynthesis. Here, it is never fully light and never fully dark. It is a world of shadows and silhouettes, a perpetual dusk where strange and beautiful creatures have adapted to the dim light. Many of the animals here are transparent, or silver, or deep red colors that help them vanish in the gloom. This is also where bioluminescence, the light made by living things, begins to appear. Fish with glowing lures, squid with shimmering skin, all creating their own light in a world where the sun has faded to a distant Hazimemore. The shimmering path of light on the water has a name. On a sunny day, you may have seen a bright, glittering path of light stretching across the water's surface, leading from the horizon toward you. This is sometimes called a glitter path or a sun pillar. It is not a solid beam of light, but an optical illusion created by the reflection of the sun on thousands of tiny, moving waves and ripples. Each ripple acts like a small, imperfect mirror. And at any given moment, some of those mirrors are angled just right to reflect the sun's light directly to your eyes. As the waves shift, different ripples take their turn, creating the effect of a continuous, shimmering path. It is a beautiful, fleeting connection between you, the sun, and the restless surface of the sea. The clearest water in the world is found far from land, in the middle of the great ocean gyres. Vast, slow-moving vortexes of water. The sea can be astonishingly clear. Here, in places like the Sargasso Sea in the Atlantic, the water has a clarity that is found almost nowhere else on Earth. This is because these regions are ocean deserts, low in the nutrients that support phytoplankton. Without these microscopic plants to cloud the water, sunlight can penetrate to extraordinary depths, sometimes hundreds of meters down. The water here is a deep, almost violet blue, the color of pure water in its most pristine state. To float here would be like hovering over a vast, blue void, a world of profound stillness and transparency. The green of coastal waters is the color of invisible forests, while the open ocean is blue. The waters closer to shore often have a soft, greenish tint. This is the color of life. The green comes from billions of microscopic, plant-like organisms called phytoplankton. Like plants on land, they use chlorophyll to capture sunlight. And it is this green pigment that colors the water. These invisible forests are the foundation of the entire marine food web. They are eaten by tiny animals, which are then eaten by larger fish, and so on, all the way up to whales and seabirds. So, when you see the gentle green of the sea near the coast, you are looking at a thriving pasture, a vast, sun-fed garden that supports nearly all the life in the ocean. Light bends as it enters the water, making everything appear closer than it is. If you've ever reached for a shell in a tide pool, you may have noticed that it wasn't quite where you thought it was. This is because of refraction, the bending of light as it passes from one medium to another. In this case, from water to air. As light travels from the object in the water to your eyes, it bends at the surface, making the object appear shallower and therefore closer than it actually is. This same principle makes a straight straw in a glass of water look bent. For creatures that hunt across the boundary of air and water, like seabirds or archerfish, the brain must learn to correct for this distortion. For us, it is a quiet reminder that our senses can be tricked, and that the world beneath the waves is not always where it seems to be. Dancing patterns of light on the seafloor are called caustics. On a sunny day in clear, shallow water, the seafloor is often covered in a shifting dot, web-like pattern of bright lines. These are called caustics, and they are formed as the rippling surface of the water acts like a collection of moving lenses. Each wave and ripple focuses sunlight into bright, dancing lines, while the troughs of the waves scatter the light, creating the darker spaces in between. The pattern is never still, constantly changing with the movement of the water above. It is a living projection of the surface onto the world below. A silent, shimmering light show that paints the sand and rocks in a restless net of gold. Sometimes, the ocean's surface can glow for miles in every direction. For centuries, sailors have reported a strange and eerie phenomenon, a night sea that glows with a soft, milky white light, stretching to the horizon. This is known as a Milky Sea, and it is one of the rarest forms of marine bioluminescence. Unlike the flashing lights of individual plankton, A milky sea is a continuous, uniform glow that can last for hours, even days. Scientists believe it is caused by a massive, sustained bloom of glowing bacteria, numbering in the trillions, all shining at once. The effect is so bright, it can be seen from space. To be on a ship in the middle of a milky sea would be like floating through a cloud of starlight. The line between the ocean and the sky dissolving into a soft, luminous haze. Many shallow water creatures are masters of using light. In the sunlit zone, where light is abundant, animals have evolved incredible ways to use it. Many fish, like the parrotfish, are brightly colored, using their patterns for camouflage against vibrant coral reefs or to signal to mates and rivals. Other creatures have developed ways to manipulate light. The cuttlefish can change its skin color and texture in an instant, but it also has skin that can polarize light, creating hidden signals that other animals may not be able to see. Some small fish have silvery scales that act like mirrors, making them flash and disappear as they turn. In this world of bright light, survival is often a game of visibility, knowing when to be seen and when to vanish into the shimmering blue. The sun's rays can penetrate over 3,000 feet into the ocean, while the ocean's depths are often imagined as completely black. A tiny amount of sunlight can reach much farther than we think. In the clearest ocean water, a faint, ghostly blue light can be detected as deep as 1,000 meters, or over 3,000 feet. This is far too little light for photosynthesis, but it is not total darkness. For the creatures that live here, in the bathypelagic or midnight zone, this faint, residual light may still be a meaningful signal from the world above. Some deep-sea fish have evolved enormous, highly sensitive eyes to capture these last few photons. For them, the difference between day and night may still exist, not as a bright sunrise, but as a subtle shift in the deep, deep blue, a whisper of a sun that shines half a mile above. As the light fades, another sense takes over. In the ocean, sound travels farther and faster than it does in air. It becomes the dominant language, a way of navigating, communicating, and understanding the world. The ocean is not a silent place. It is a concert hall, filled with a constant symphony of clicks, whistles, groans, and songs. Some are made by the earth itself, the slow grind of tectonic plates, or the hiss of underwater volcanoes, but many are the voices of life, echoing through the vast, dark water. Whale songs can travel across entire oceans. The low-frequency calls of blue and fin whales are the loudest sounds made by any animal on Earth. These deep, resonant moans can travel for hundreds, even thousands, of miles through the water. A whale singing off the coast of Newfoundland might, in theory, be heard by another whale off the coast of Ireland. This incredible range is possible because of a special layer in the ocean known as the SOFAR channel, or the deep sound channel. At a certain depth, a combination of temperature and pressure allows sound to travel with very little loss of energy. Whales seem to have learned to use this natural sound corridor, placing their songs right where they will travel farthest. It is a planetary communication system, a slow, patient conversation that spans the globe. The ocean has a special layer where sound can travel forever. The SOFAR channel, which stands for Sound Fixing and Ranging, is a unique horizontal layer in the ocean where the speed of sound is at its minimum. Sound waves that enter this channel can become trapped, bouncing between the upper and lower boundaries and traveling for enormous distances without losing significant energy. It was discovered during World War II, when scientists realized that the sound of an explosion could be detected by underwater microphones on the other side of an ocean basin. This channel exists because of the way temperature and pressure affect the speed of sound in water. For marine animals like whales, it is a natural telephone line. For humans, it remains a place of acoustic mystery, a layer of the ocean where a sound, once made, might continue to echo for a lifetime. Dolphins see with sound, using a biological sonar called echolocation. In the often murky or dark waters of the ocean, sight can be unreliable. So, dolphins have evolved a different way of seeing. They produce a rapid series of high-frequency clicks that travel through the water. When these clicks hit an object, a fish, a rock, the seafloor, they bounce back as echoes. The dolphin's brain processes these returning echoes, creating a detailed, three-dimensional sound map of its surroundings. This echolocation is so precise that a dolphin can determine the size, shape, distance, and even the texture of an object from a distance. It can distinguish between different species of fish or find a small coin on the ocean floor. It is a way of perceiving the world that is almost impossible for us to imagine. A constant stream of acoustic information that paints a rich and vivid picture in the darkness. When giant icebergs melt, they fizz and sing. In the polar seas, as colossal icebergs drift into warmer waters, they begin to melt. And as they do, they create a unique sound. It's a fizzing, crackling hiss, sometimes called Bergy seltzer. This sound is made by the release of ancient air bubbles that were trapped in the ice when it formed, sometimes thousands of years ago. As the ice melts, these pressurized bubbles burst, releasing a torrent of tiny pops. For a large iceberg, the sound can be a continuous, gentle roar. It is the sound of the past being released into the present, the breath of an ancient glacier finally escaping into the sea. Underwater microphones have recorded this sound, revealing a hidden acoustic world in the otherwise silent polar oceans. There are mysterious sounds in the ocean that no one can explain. In 1997, a network of underwater microphones detected an ultra-low frequency sound in the Pacific Ocean that was louder than any known animal call. It was named the bloop. For years, its origin was a mystery. It sounded biological, but was far too powerful to have been made by a blue whale. The mystery captured the public imagination, sparking theories of giant, undiscovered sea creatures. More recently, scientists have concluded that the bloop was most likely the sound of a large iceberg cracking and breaking away from a glacier in Antarctica. And yet, other mysterious sounds remain. Sounds like Julia, Slow Down, and the whistle have all been recorded. Their sources still debated. The deep ocean still holds its secrets, broadcasting sounds from a world we have yet to fully understand. Fish are not silent. They communicate with grunts, croaks, and rumbles. We often think of the underwater world as a quiet one, but many fish are surprisingly vocal. They produce sounds by vibrating their swim bladders, grinding their teeth, or rubbing their bones together. These sounds are not random. They are used for communication. A male midshipman fish will hum for hours to attract a mate. A Goliath grouper produces a deep, booming sound to defend its territory. A piranha can make a barking noise when it feels threatened. These underwater conversations create a rich and complex soundscape, especially on coral reefs. where hundreds of species may be talking at once. Most of these sounds are too quiet, or at frequencies too low for us to hear without special equipment. But for the fish, the water is alive with messages, warnings, and invitations. The deepest parts of the ocean are profoundly still. As you descend into the abyssal plains, thousands of meters below the surface, the sounds of the upper ocean fade away. The crashing waves, the calls of dolphins, the hum of snapping shrimp, all are gone. Here, in the crushing pressure and total darkness, the world becomes almost silent. The primary sounds are geological, the slow groan of tectonic plates, the rumble of a distant underwater earthquake, or the hiss of a hydrothermal vent. There is also the gentle, constant fall of marine snow, the tiny particles of organic matter drifting down from above, which make no sound at all. This profound quiet is one of the defining features of the deep sea. It is a silence born of immense pressure and distance, a stillness that has existed for millions of years. Sound travels 4 times faster in water than in air. Because water is much denser than air, sound waves can travel through it far more efficiently. In the ocean, the speed of sound is roughly 1.6 meters per second, or nearly a mile per second. That is more than 4 times faster than its speed in the air we breathe. This has profound implications for marine life. For whales and dolphins, it means a call can cross vast distances in a relatively short amount of time, allowing for long-range communication. It also means that for a human diver, it can be very difficult to tell where a sound is coming from. Because the sound reaches both ears at almost the same time, the brain cannot use the slight delay it relies on in the air to pinpoint a source. In the ocean, sound is not only louder and faster, but also more immersive, surrounding you from all directions at once. You can hear the sound of underwater volcanoes erupting from thousands of miles away. When a volcano erupts on the seafloor, it releases enormous amounts of energy. This energy creates powerful, low-frequency sound waves that can travel through the ocean's SOFAR channel for incredible distances. Scientists using a global network of underwater hydrophones can detect these eruption sounds from the other side of the planet. These acoustic signals allow them to locate and monitor underwater volcanic activity in real time, even in the most remote parts of the ocean. What is a violent, fiery explosion at its source becomes, by the time it reaches a distant microphone, a low, fin rumble, the acoustic ghost of a mountain being born in the dark. The songs of bearded seals are eerie and otherworldly. In the icy waters of the Arctic, the bearded seal produces one of the most unusual and haunting sounds in the animal kingdom. The male song is a long, descending trill, a warbling, spiraling sound that can last for over a minute. It sounds less like an animal and more like a science fiction sound effect or a synthesizer. These songs are used to attract mates and defend underwater territories. They are so loud, they can be heard through the ice by people standing on the surface. To hear the song of a bearded seal echoing through the cold, still water is to listen to a voice that seems to come from another world. A beautiful, alien melody from beneath the ice. The crunching sound of parrotfish eating is the sound of sand being made on a healthy coral reef. One of the most common sounds is a constant scraping and crunching. This is the sound of parrotfish. These brightly colored fish have powerful, beak-like teeth that they use to bite off pieces of coral, scraping off the algae that grows on it. They digest the algae and excrete the indigestible coral skeleton as fine, white sand. A single large parrotfish can produce hundreds of pounds of sand every year. Much of the soft, white sand of tropical beaches is, in fact, the processed remains of coral, delivered by generations of parrotfish. So, that gentle crunching sound you might hear while snorkeling is not a sound of destruction. It is the sound of creation, the sound of an island's beautiful beaches being born, one bite at a time, beneath the shimmering surface. In the warm, sunlit waters of the tropics, some of the most vibrant and complex ecosystems on Earth. These are the coral reefs. They are not made of rock or plants, but of millions of tiny, living animals. They are cities built by life, for life, sprawling, intricate, and filled with a dazzling diversity of creatures. Coral reefs are like rainforests of the sea, pulsing with color, motion, and a quiet, ancient intelligence. Coral reefs are built by tiny animals called polyps. A coral reef may look like a single, massive structure, but it is a colony of thousands, sometimes millions, of individual animals called polyps. Each polyp is a soft-bodied creature, related to jellyfish and sea anemones, with a ring of tiny tentacles surrounding a central mouth. These polyps build their homes by taking calcium carbonate from the seawater and secreting it as a hard, stony skeleton. They live in this cup-like skeleton, connected to their neighbors, slowly building the reef, layer by layer, generation after generation. It is a process of construction that is impossibly slow. Yet over thousands of years, it can create structures so large they are visible from space. Corals are solar-powered animals. Most reef-building corals have a secret partner living inside their tissues, a microscopic algae called zooxanthellae. This is a symbiotic relationship, a partnership of mutual benefit. The coral polyp provides the algae with a safe home and the compounds it needs for photosynthesis. In return, the algae use sunlight to produce sugars, which they share with the coral, providing it with up to 90% of its energy. This partnership is what allows corals to thrive in the nutrient-poor waters of the tropics. It is also what gives corals their beautiful colors. The browns, greens, and reds all come from the algae. The coral itself is translucent. It is an animal that has learned to live like a plant, powered by the sun. Coral reefs are the most biodiverse ecosystems in the ocean. Although they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, coral reefs are home to an estimated 25% of all marine species. From tiny, colorful fish that dart between branches, to moray eels that hide in crevices, to sharks and sea turtles that glide over the top, reefs are bustling with life. They provide food, shelter, and breeding grounds for thousands of species. The complex, three-dimensional structure of the reef, with all its caves, ledges, and branches, creates an incredible number of niches, allowing so many different creatures to live together in a small space. A single head of coral can be a universe in itself, home to dozens of tiny crabs, shrimp, and worms. Once a year, under the light of the full moon, entire reefs reproduce at once, in one of the most spectacular and synchronized events in the natural world. Many coral species reproduce all at the same time. This is called broadcast spawning. On a specific night, often just after a full moon, triggered by the water temperature and the lunar cycle, entire sections of a reef will release their eggs and sperm into the water. The water becomes thick with tiny, colorful bundles, like a swirling underwater snowstorm. By spawning all at once, the corals increase the chances of fertilization. This massive, coordinated release is a testament to the deep, mysterious connection between the reef and the rhythms of the cosmos. Corals come in an astonishing variety of shapes and forms. Corals are not all the same. They grow in a breathtaking diversity of shapes, each adapted to its environment. There are branching corals, which grow like trees, reaching up toward the sunlight. There are massive brain corals, which form huge, groove domes that can live for hundreds of years. There are delicate fan corals, which spread out in intricate, lace-like patterns to catch passing nutrients. There are plate corals, which form flat, overlapping tiers to maximize their exposure to light. The shape of a coral is determined by its species, but also by the light, currents, and competition in its specific location. A walk through a coral reef is a walk through a gallery of living sculpture. Coral reefs protect coastlines from storms. The solid, complex structure of a coral reef acts as a natural breakwater, absorbing the energy of waves before they reach the shore. During storms and hurricanes, a healthy reef can reduce wave energy by up to 97%, protecting coastal communities from erosion, flooding, and property damage. This service is a quiet, constant gift from the reef to the land. Without them, many tropical coastlines would be far more vulnerable. The same structures that provide a home for the smallest fish also provide a shield for entire towns and villages. The sound of a healthy reef is a chorus of pops, clicks, and crunches. A coral reef is not a quiet place. It is filled with the sounds of its inhabitants. The constant crunching of parrotfish eating coral, the snapping of shrimp claws, the grunts of damselfish defending their territories. All of these sounds combine to create a vibrant acoustic signature. Scientists can now use this soundscape to monitor the health of a reef. A loud, complex reef is a healthy one. A quiet reef is often one that is in trouble. This chorus of life is a vital sign, an audible measure of the reef's pulse. Some massive corals can live for thousands of years, while individual polyps may live for only a few years. A coral colony as a whole can be incredibly long-lived. The massive, boulder-like corals can grow slowly for centuries, even millennia. Some colonies of black coral found in the deep sea have been estimated to be over 4,000 years old, making them among the oldest living animals on Earth. These ancient corals are living records of the ocean's history. The layers of their skeletons contain chemical clues about past water temperatures, nutri level, and climate conditions. Much like the rings of a tree, they are silent, patient witnesses to the slow, unfolding story of the sea. Many creatures on the reef work as cleaners. Coral reefs are home to a special kind of cooperation cleaning stations. Here, small fish and shrimp, known as cleaners, set up shop and wait for larger fish to arrive. The larger fish, which would normally be predators, will hover peacefully, opening their mouths and gills to allow the cleaners to pick off parasites, dead skin, and other debris. It is a relationship of mutual trust and benefit. The large fish gets cleaned and stays healthy, and the cleaner gets a meal. This quiet, interspecies teamwork is essential to the health of the reef community. A small, daily ritual of care and cooperation. The beautiful white sand of tropical beaches is often made by the reef itself. The soft, powdery sand that makes tropical beaches so famous often has its origins in the coral reef just offshore. It is made from the ground-up skeletons of corals, shells, and other calcium carbonate creatures. The parrotfish is a major contributor, excreting tons of fine sand each year after digesting the algae from coral. Waves and currents also play a part, breaking down dead coral and shells over time. In this way, the reef is constantly building its own shoreline, creating the very beaches that we find so beautiful. The land and the sea are connected in a slow, patient cycle of creation. Corals can glow with fluorescent light under certain lighting conditions, especially blue or ultraviolet light. Many corals can glow with dazzling fluorescent colors, bright greens, oranges, and reds. This is not the same as bioluminescence, where an organism creates its own light. Instead, special proteins in the coral's tissue absorb light of one color and re-emit it as another. Scientists believe this fluorescence may act as a sunscreen, protecting the coral and its symbiotic algae from harmful UV radiation. It may also help the algae by converting light into wavelengths that are more useful for photosynthesis. Whatever its purpose, the effect is magical, turning the reef into a glowing, psychedelic landscape under the right light. It is a hidden beauty, a secret language of color that we are only just beginning to understand. Beyond the vibrant cities of coral, the ocean holds another kind of architecture, one that is quieter, softer, and always in motion. These are the kelp forests. They are not made of trees, but of giant algae, rising from the seafloor like silent, green cathedrals. Their long, flexible fronds sway in the currents, and sunlight filters through their canopy, creating a world of shifting light and shadow. These underwater forests are among the most productive and dynamic ecosystems on Earth, providing food and shelter for a vast community of creatures. Kelp forests are not made of plants, but of giant algae, though they look like trees, with root-like holdfasts, stem-like stipes, and leaf-like blades. Kelp are actually a type of brown algae. They have no true roots, stems, or leaves. The holdfast simply anchors the kelp to the rocky bottom. It does not absorb nutrients like a root. The stipe provides structure, and the blades are where photosynthesis happens, capturing the energy of the sun, unlike trees, which can take decades to grow. Some species of giant kelp can grow incredibly fast, up to 2 feet in a single day under ideal conditions. They are ephemeral giants, rising quickly and living for only a few years before being torn away by storms. Kelp forests thrive in cold, nutrient-rich waters, unlike coral reefs, which need warm, clear, tropical seas. Kelp forests flourish in the cold, turbulent waters of temperate and polar regions. They need a constant supply of nutrients, which are brought to the surface by upwelling, a process where deep, cold, nutrient-rich water rises to replace warmer surface water. They also need rocky bottoms for their holdfasts to grip onto. This is why you find kelp forests along the rugged coastlines of California, South Africa, Australia, and other places where these conditions meet. They are ecosystems born of cold and motion. These underwater forests are three-dimensional habitats. Like a forest on land, a kelp forest provides a complex, multi-layered environment. The canopy, formed by the floating fronds at the surface, provides a home for small invertebrates and a resting place for sea otters. The midwater, a world of swaying stipes, is a hunting ground for fish, and the forest floor, in the dim light beneath the canopy, is a refuge for sea urchins, starfish, and rockfish. This vertical structure creates an incredible diversity of niches, allowing hundreds of different species to live together. It is a world of layers, from the sunlit roof to the shadowed floor. Sea otters are the guardians of the kelp forest. In many kelp forests, a single species plays a crucial role in maintaining the health of the entire ecosystem, the sea otter. Sea otters feed on sea urchins, which in turn feed on kelp. Without otters, the urchin population can explode, and they will graze down the kelp forest until it becomes a barren, empty landscape known as an urchin barren. By keeping the urchin population in check, sea otters act as keystone species, allowing the forest to thrive. The relationship is a delicate dance of predator and prey that shapes the very structure of the underwater world. The presence of a playful, floating otter is often a sign of a healthy, vibrant forest below. The swaying of kelp creates a calm refuge for marine life. The dense canopy of a kelp forest acts like a buffer, damping the energy of waves and slowing down currents. This creates a calmer, more sheltered environment within the forest. For many small fish and invertebrates, this is a vital nursery, a safe place to grow and hide from predators and the harshness of the open ocean. Even large animals, like gray whales, will sometimes seek refuge in kelp forests during storms, using the thick fronds to anchor themselves. The forest's constant, gentle swaying is the rhythm of this underwater sanctuary. Many of the products we use every day come from kelp. Kelp is not just important for the ocean. It is also a part of our daily lives. A substance called algin, extracted from kelp, is used as a thickening and emulsifying agent in countless products. You can find it in ice cream, salad dressing, toothpaste, and even some medicines. It helps give these products their smooth, consistent texture. This quiet, hidden ingredient from the sea is a reminder of how deeply we are connected to the ocean's ecosystems. Even when we are far from the shore, kelp has gas-filled bladders that help it float toward the sun, to reach the sunlit surface from the dark seafloor. Giant kelp has a clever adaptation. At the base of each blade is a small, gas-filled float called a pneumatocyst. These little bladders are like tiny balloons, providing buoyancy and lifting the long stipe up through the water column. This allows the blades to spread out on the surface, forming a dense canopy where they can absorb the maximum amount of sunlight for photosynthesis. It is a simple and elegant solution to the challenge of growing tall in a world without rigid trunks. Kelp forests are a vital source of food for both the sea and the land. Kelp is a primary producer, turning sunlight into energy. But it is not just eaten by the creatures that live within the forest. When kelp is torn from the seafloor by storms, it washes up on beaches, providing a crucial source of food for a whole community of shoreline creatures. From sandhoppers to shorebirds, this rack of decaying kelp fertilizes the sand and supports a rich ecosystem at the boundary of land and sea. In this way, the forest's energy is shared, feeding not only its own inhabitants, but also those of a completely different world. The sound of a kelp forest is a gentle, rhythmic creaking. The underwater soundscape of a kelp forest is unique. It is not the crackle of a coral reef, but a slower, more deliberate sound. The thick, leathery stipes of the kelp rub against each other as they sway in the current, creating a soft, groaning or creaking sound. Mixed with the muffled roar of the surf and the calls of fish, it creates a soothing, almost meditative atmosphere. It is the sound of a forest in motion, the sound of life breathing with the rhythm of the tides. Some of the most beautiful fish in the world live in kelp forests. The cool, green waters of kelp forests are home to a stunning array of fish. The bright orange Garibaldi, the state marine fish of California, darts through the fronds. The kelpfish, a master of camouflage, can change its color to perfectly match the blades it rests on. Schools of silvery jack mackerel swirl through the midwater, and shy rockfish hide in the shadows of the holdfasts. The forest structure and abundant food support a community as colorful and diverse as any coral reef. Kelp forests can disappear and reappear with changing ocean conditions. Kelp forests are not as permanent as forests on land. They are sensitive to changes in water temperature, nutrient level, and the populations of grazers like sea urchins. A warm water event, like an El Niño, can decimate a kelp forest in a single season. An explosion of the urchin population can wipe it out in months. But just as quickly, when conditions improve, the forest can return. Spores can drift in from surviving patches, and the fast-growing kelp can recolonize a barren area in a matter of years. They are ecosystems of resilience, always in a state of flux, a testament to the ocean's power to both destroy and renew. As we leave the sunlit forests of kelp and sink deeper, we enter a world that is neither surface nor seafloor. This is the midwater, the vast, open ocean that makes up the majority of our planet's living space. It is a world without landmarks, a three-dimensional darkness filled with creatures that seem to be made of water, shadow, and light. These are the ghosts of the deep jellyfish, squid, and countless other soft-bodied animals that drift and hunt in the endless twilight. A silent ballet of strange and beautiful forms. Jellyfish are among the oldest multi-organelle animals on Earth. They have been drifting through the oceans for at least 500 million years, long before the first dinosaurs walked the land. They have no brain, no heart, and no bones. Their bodies are made of more than 95% water. And yet, they have survived every mass extinction event in Earth's history. Their simple, elegant design, a bell for propulsion and tentacles for capturing prey, has proven to be one of the most successful in the history of life. To see a jellyfish pulse gently through the water is to see a living fossil, a form of life so ancient it seems to belong to another world. The immortal jellyfish can revert to its childhood to escape death. In the vast kingdom of the sea, one small creature seems to have discovered a secret to eternal life. The Turritopsis dohrnii, often called the immortal jellyfish, has a remarkable ability. When faced with stress, injury, or old age, it can reverse its life cycle. It transforms from a mature, swimming medusa back into a polyp, the stationary, plant-like stage of its youth. From this polyp, new, genetically identical jellyfish will bud off, and the life cycle begins again. It is as if a butterfly could turn back into a caterpillar and start over. This process can theoretically be repeated forever, making the jellyfish biologically immortal. It is a quiet reminder that the laws of life and death, as we understand them, are not always absolute. Some deep-sea squid are completely transparent. In the dim light of the twilight zone, one of the best ways to hide is to not be there at all. Many creatures of the midwater have evolved to be almost completely transparent. The glass squid is a master of this art. Its body is a delicate, gelatinous sac, so clear that you can see its internal organs. It drifts through the water like a living ghost, nearly invisible to predators and prey alike. The only parts that are not transparent are its eyes, which it can orient downwards to minimize its silhouette against the faint light from above. It is an act of vanishing, a life lived as a whisper of form in the endless blue. The vampire squid lives in a world with almost no oxygen. The vampire squid is not a true squid, and it does not drink blood. It is a unique and ancient creature that lives in the ocean's oxygen minimum zone, a layer of water thousands of feet down where oxygen levels are too low for most animals to survive. It thrives here, in the cold, dark, breathless water. To survive, it has a very low metabolism and a special protein in its blood that is incredibly efficient at binding to oxygen. It is a slow, graceful drifter, with large, blue eyes and a dark, velvety cloak of skin that connects its arms. It is a creature that has found its home in a place that feels like the edge of life itself. Cynophoris, or comb jellies, hunt with rainbow lights. Comb jellies are not true jellyfish, but they are among the most beautiful and ethereal creatures in the sea. They are named for the 8 rows of cilia, or combs, that run down their bodies. These tiny, hair-like structures beat in coordinated waves, propelling the animal through the water. And as they beat, they scatter light, creating a shimmering, rainbow-like display that ripples down the comb jelly's body. This is not bioluminescence, but a beautiful optical effect. It is a silent, pulsing rainbow, a ghost of light moving through the dark. The giant squid remains one of the ocean's greatest mysteries. For centuries, the giant squid was a creature of myth, a sea monster from the tales of sailors. It was not until 2004 that the first photographs of a live giant squid were taken in its natural habitat, deep in the ocean. These massive animals can grow up to 43 feet long, with eyes the size of dinner plates, the largest in the animal kingdom. They live in the deep ocean, and we still know very little about them. We have never seen them mate or raise their young. Most of what we know comes from the remains found in the stomachs of sperm whales, their only known predator. It is a reminder that even in the 21st century, there are still monsters in the deep, not monsters of fiction, but of flesh and blood, living their secret lives far beyond our reach. Siphonophores are not one animal, but thousands working together. A siphonophore may look like a single, long jellyfish, but it is actually a colony of thousands of individual organisms, called zooids. Each zooid is highly specialized for a specific task. Some form the bell for swimming, some form the tentacles for capturing prey, some form the stomachs for digesting food, and some are for reproduction. All of these individuals are genetically identical and are physically connected, functioning as a single, coordinated superorganism. Some siphonophores, like the Portuguese man-o'-war, float at the surface. Others, like the giant Praia dubia, can grow to be over 100 feet long, making them one of the longest animals in the world. They are a beautiful and strange example of how life can blur the line between the individual and the community. The firefly squid puts on a dazzling light show. In the waters off the coast of Japan, the firefly squid turns the sea into a constellation of blue lights. These small squid are covered in photophores, special light-producing organs. They can control the brightness of these lights, flashing them in complex patterns to communicate, attract mates, and camouflage themselves. Once a year, during the spawning season, millions of firefly squid gather in Toyama Bay, and their synchronized flashing turns the entire bay into a shimmering, pulsating field of blue light. It is one of the most magical displays of bioluminescence in the world. A silent, living light show in the dark of the sea. Some jellyfish have no tentacles at all. Not all jellyfish fit the classic image of a bell and trailing tentacles. The cannonball jellyfish, for example, is shaped like a dense, round ball and has a complex structure of oral arms instead of long, stinging tentacles. It is a strong swimmer and is largely harmless to humans. In the deep sea, there are even more unusual forms. The deep stereo jellyfish looks less like a jellyfish and more like a shapeless, drifting sheet, a living garbage bag that can envelop its prey. These strange and varied forms are a testament to the incredible adaptability of this ancient group of animals. The larvation builds a new house for itself every day. In the midwater, a tiny, tadpole-like creature called a larvation performs an incredible feat of engineering. It secretes a complex, gelatinous structure around itself, a house made of mucus. This house is a marvel of design. It has chambers and filters that the larvation uses to trap tiny particles of food from the water. But the filters can get clogged quickly. So after just a few hours, the larvation will abandon its house and build a new one from scratch. These abandoned houses, known as sinkers, drift slowly down into the deep sea, providing a vital source of food for the creatures below. It is a life of constant construction and renewal. A tiny architect building and abandoning its delicate palaces in the dark. The ocean is the largest living space on our planet. When we think of life on Earth, we often picture the land, the forests, the grasslands, the deserts. But in reality, over 99% of the living space on our planet is in the ocean. The vast, three-dimensional world of the midwater, stretching from just below the surface to the abyssal plains, is the largest habitat on Earth. It is a world that is still largely unexplored, a realm of immense quiet and darkness, and it is filled with a diversity of life that we are only just beginning to understand. It is a humbling thought that the world we know, the world of light and air, is just a thin, fragile film on the surface of a much larger and much more mysterious liquid world. Now we drift deeper, leaving the last ghosts of sunlight behind. We are entering the abyss, a world of crushing pressure, profound cold, and a darkness that has been unbroken for millions of years. This is the largest environment on Earth, and yet it is the least explored. It feels like an alien planet, but it is simply the deep, hidden heart of our own. The life that exists here is strange, slow, and beautiful, born of patience and perfectly adapted to a world without light. The pressure in the deep sea is like being crushed by the weight of 50 jumbo jets at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, nearly 11,000 meters down. The pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at the surface. This is an almost unimaginable weight, equivalent to having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of you. This immense pressure would instantly crush any land animal or unprotected submarine. And yet, life thrives here. Deep-sea creatures have evolved bodies that are mostly water, without the gas-filled spaces like lungs or swim bladders that would collapse under such pressure. Their cells and proteins are also specially adapted to function in these extreme conditions. They do not feel the pressure because they are in perfect equilibrium with it. They are born of the weight of the ocean, and it is the only home they know. The creatures of the deep sea have learned to live without the sun, in the absence of sunlight. There is no photosynthesis. So, the food web of the deep sea is based not on plants, but on what falls from above, a constant, gentle rain of organic matter, known as marine snow, drifts down from the sunlit waters. This snow is made of dead plankton, fecal matter, and other debris. It is the foundation of life in the abyss. The creatures here are scavengers and predators, waiting patiently in the dark for a meal to drift by. It is a world of conservation, where energy is precious and every scrap is recycled. Many deep-sea fish have mouths that are far too big for their bodies. In a world where food is scarce, you cannot afford to miss an opportunity. Many deep-sea predators, like the gulper eel or the anglerfish, have evolved enormous mouths, sometimes lined with long, sharp, backward-pointing teeth. They can often swallow prey that is larger than they are. Their stomachs can expand to accommodate a large meal, which might have to last them for weeks or even months. It is a strategy born of scarcity, a way of ensuring that any encounter with food, no matter how rare or how large, is not wasted. The tripod fish stands on the seafloor, waiting for a meal to drift by. The tripod fish is a creature of incredible patience. It has 3 long, stilt-like fins that it uses to stand on the soft mud of the abyssal plain. It faces into the gentle current, its long pectoral fins held out in front of it, like sensitive antennae. And it waits. It can stand motionless for hours, even days, waiting for a small shrimp or crustacean to drift by and touch its fins. When it feels a vibration, it snaps its mouth open and sucks in its prey. It is a life of stillness and anticipation, a silent hunter in a world of slow, gentle drift. There is no sense of time in the deep sea. In the abyss, there is no day and no night. There are no seasons. The temperature is constant, just a few degrees above freezing. The darkness is eternal. For the creatures that live here, time does not pass in the same way it does for us. Their lives are slow, measured not in days, but in the rare arrival of food or a potential mate. Their metabolisms are incredibly slow to conserve energy. They grow slowly, move slowly, and can live for an incredibly long time. A deep-sea clam has been found that was over 500 years old. It is a world outside of time, a place of ancient, patient stillness. The anglerfish uses a glowing lure to attract its prey. The anglerfish is one of the most iconic creatures of the deep sea. The female has a long, fleshy appendage that grows from her head, and at the tip of it is a photophore, a light-producing organ filled with bioluminescent bacteria. She dangles this glowing lure in the darkness, wiggling it to attract the attention of smaller fish and crustaceans. When a curious creature comes too close to investigate the light, she opens her massive jaws and swallows it whole. It is a perfectly evolved trap, a tiny, living fishing rod in the endless night. In the deep sea, finding a mate is so difficult that some males fuse with the female. For the anglerfish, finding a mate in the vast darkness of the abyss is a nearly impossible task. So, they have evolved a strange and unique solution. When a tiny male anglerfish finds a female, who is often hundreds of times his size, he bites onto her body and holds on. Over time, his body fuses with hers. His skin, his blood vessels, even his organs merge with hers, until he becomes little more than a permanent, attached sperm bank. The female will carry several of these fused males with her, ensuring she always has a mate when she is ready to reproduce. It is one of the most extreme examples of sexual dimorphism and adaptation in the animal kingdom. The hydrothermal vent is an oasis of life in the deep-sea desert. In 1977, scientists exploring the deep sea made a stunning discovery. They found entire ecosystems thriving in the total darkness around hydrothermal vents, chimney-like structures on the seafloor that spew superheated, mineral-rich water. Here, in this seemingly toxic environment, life was abundant. Giant tube worms with bright red plumes clustered around the vents. Crabs, shrimp, and mussels scuttled over the rocks. This life was not based on sunlight, but on chemosynthesis. Bacteria were using the chemicals from the vents, like hydrogen sulfide, to create energy. It was a discovery that rewrote our understanding of life, proving that it could exist in the most extreme and unexpected places. The tube worms at hydrothermal vents have no mouth and no stomach. The giant tube worms that live around hydrothermal vents can grow up to 8 feet long, and yet they have no mouth, no stomach, and no digestive system. They do not eat. Instead, they have a special organ inside their bodies, called a trophosome, which is packed with symbiotic bacteria. The worm's bright red plume absorbs chemicals from the vent water and delivers them to the bacteria. The bacteria then use these chemicals to produce sugars, which they share with the worm, providing it with all the energy it needs. It is a complete and perfect partnership, an animal that has become a living greenhouse for its own internal food source. The whale fall creates an entire ecosystem on the seafloor. When a great whale dies, its body sinks slowly through the water, eventually coming to rest on the abyssal plain. This whale fall is a monumental event for the deep sea. The carcass, which can weigh up to 200 tons, provides a sudden, massive feast in a world of scarcity. An entire succession of creatures will colonize the whale fall, creating a unique and temporary ecosystem that can last for decades. First come the scavengers, like hagfish and sleeper sharks. Then come the smaller creatures that feed on the blubber and bones. Finally, chemosynthetic bacteria will break down the lipids in the bones, supporting a community of mussels and tube worms. A single dead whale can become an island of life in the vast, empty desert of the sea floor. Some deep-sea creatures are living fossils. The deep sea is a stable and slow-changing environment. This has allowed some creatures to survive there for millions of years, relatively unchanged. The coelacanth, a fish once thought to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs, was rediscovered in the deep waters off the coast of South Africa in 1938. The frilled shark, with its snake-like body and rows of sharp teeth, has a lineage that stretches back 80 million years. These living fossils are like windows into the Earth's distant past, a reminder of the ancient, patient nature of life in the abyss. We now journey to a place on our planet that feels truly alien, a landscape of crushing darkness and extreme temperatures, where the boundaries between rock and water, and between life and non-life, seem to dissolve. These are the hydrothermal vents, underwater geysers on the seafloor where superheated, mineral-rich water erupts from the Earth's crust. They are often called black smokers or white smokers, and they create oases of life in the otherwise barren desert of the deep sea. This is a world powered not by the sun, but by the heat of the Earth's core. Hydrothermal vents are underwater volcanoes of a different kind. They form along mid-ocean ridges, where tectonic plates are pulling apart and new crust is being formed. Seawater seeps down into cracks in the crust, where it is heated by magma. As the water gets superheated, It dissolves minerals from the surrounding rock. This hot, mineral-rich fluid then rises back to the surface and erupts from the seafloor, creating the vent. As the hot fluid mixes with the cold, near-freezing seawater, the dissolved minerals precipitate out, forming chimney-like structures that can grow to be several stories tall. It is a slow, patient process of geological creation in the dark. The water erupting from a black smoker can be hot enough to melt lead. A black smoker is a type of hydrothermal vent that emits water at extremely high temperatures, sometimes over 400 degrees Celsius or 750 degrees Fahrenheit. The water is so hot that it should boil, but the immense pressure of the deep ocean keeps it in a liquid state. The smoke is not actually smoke, but a cloud of fine mineral particles, mostly iron sulfides, that precipitate out as the hot fluid mixes with the cold seawater. This creates a dark, billowing plume that looks like black smoke. It is a scene of incredible violence and beauty, a fiery fountain at the bottom of a frozen sea. Life at hydrothermal vents is based on chemistry, not sunlight. The discovery of hydrothermal vent ecosystems in 1977 was a revolution in biology. For the first time, scientists had found a complex ecosystem that did not depend on the sun. There were no plants, no photosynthesis. The base of the food web was bacteria that were performing chemosynthesis. They were harnessing the chemical energy of the hydrogen sulfide and other minerals erupting from the vents to create organic matter. These bacteria, in turn, supported a dense community of strange and unique animals. From giant tube worms to blind shrimp, it proved that life could find a way, even in the most extreme and unlikely of places. The giant tube worms at vents have no mouth, no gut, and blood as red as ours. One of the most striking creatures at a hydrothermal vent is the giant tube worm. These animals can grow to be over 2 meters long, and they live in large clusters around the vents. They have a white, chitinous tube for protection, and at the top is a bright red plume. They have no mouth and no digestive system. Instead, they are completely dependent on symbiotic bacteria that live inside their bodies. The red plume acts like a gill, absorbing oxygen, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen sulfide from the water. This is then delivered to the bacteria, which produce sugars to feed the worm. The red color of the plume comes from hemoglobin, the same molecule that makes our blood red, which is incredibly efficient at binding to these chemicals. The Pompeii worm is one of the most heat-tolerant animals on Earth. The Pompeii worm lives in tubes attached directly to the sides of black smoker chimneys, in a place where the temperature can fluctuate wildly. From the near-freezing ambient seawater to the superheated vent fluid, it is one of the most heat-tolerant complex animals known, able to withstand temperatures of up to 80 degrees Celsius, or 176 degrees Fahrenheit. It survives by secreting a mucus that it uses to grow a thick, fleecy coat of bacteria on its back. This bacterial coat is thought to act as insulation, protecting the worm from the extreme heat. It is a small, gray, fuzzy worm that has made its home in one of the most hellish environments on the planet. Some vent crabs are completely blind and covered in bacteria. The Yeti crab, discovered in 2005, is a strange and beautiful creature that lives near hydrothermal vents in the Pacific. It is a pale, white crab with long, hairy arms. The hair is actually a dense mat of filamentous bacteria, which the crab farms and eats. The crab waves its arms over the vents to provide the bacteria with the nutrients they need to grow. The crab is also completely blind, its eyes having degenerated over time in the total darkness of the deep sea. It is a farmer, a rancher, and a testament to the strange and wonderful ways that life adapts. Hydrothermal vents may be where life on Earth first began. The conditions at deep-sea hydrothermal vents, the mix of chemicals, the energy gradients, and the mineral surfaces are very similar to the conditions that many scientists believe were necessary for the origin of life on Earth. The vents provide a protected environment, away from the harsh radiation at the surface of the early Earth, and the chemical reactions that occur there could have provided the building blocks for the first cells. While it is impossible to know for sure, it is a tantalizing possibility that the very first spark of life on our planet may have occurred in a place of fire and darkness. At the bottom of a long-forgotten sea, hydrothermal vents exist on other worlds in our solar system. The discovery of hydrothermal vents on Earth has profound implications for the search for life elsewhere. We now know that life can exist without sunlight, and there is strong evidence that hydrothermal vents may exist on other worlds in our solar system. In the subsurface oceans of moons like Jupiter's Europa and Saturn's Enceladus, these moons are covered in a thick shell of ice. But tidal forces from their parent planets are thought to keep their interiors warm enough for liquid water to exist. If there are hydrothermal vents at the bottom of these alien oceans, then it is possible that life could have arisen there, completely independent of life on Earth. The dark, fiery oases of our own deep sea may be a model for life across the cosmos. The life cycle of a vent ecosystem is one of boom and bust. A hydrothermal vent is not a permanent feature. The plumbing of the seafloor is constantly changing. An event may be active for only a few decades or centuries before it goes dormant. When a vent dies, the chemical energy that supported the ecosystem disappears, and the creatures that depended on it will die off. But the ocean is vast, and new vents are always forming elsewhere. The larvae of vent creatures can drift in the currents, sometimes for years, waiting to find a new, active vent to colonize. It is a life of constant searching, a cycle of birth, death, and renewal on a geological timescale. The Lost City is a hydrothermal vent field unlike any other. In 2000, scientists discovered a hydrothermal vent field in the mid-Atlantic that was completely different from the black smokers they were used to. The Lost City is a forest of towering white and cream-colored chimneys, some up to 60 meters tall. The water here is not superheated by magma, but is warmed by a chemical reaction between seawater and the rock of the mantle. The fluid is highly alkaline, and it is rich in hydrogen and methane. The life here is also different, dominated by microbes that thrive in this strange chemical soup. The Lost City may be a modern analog for the kind of environment where life first began. A window into a different, and perhaps older, way of being alive. The entire volume of the Earth's oceans is filtered through hydrothermal vents every few thousand years. The circulation of seawater through hydrothermal vent systems is a massive, planet-scale process. It is estimated that a volume of water equivalent to the entire Earth's oceans is cycled through the hot rock of the Earth's crust every few thousand years. This process has a profound impact on the chemistry of the oceans. It removes some elements from the seawater and adds others, acting as a giant chemical regulator. This slow, steady circulation helps to maintain the balance of salts and minerals in the ocean, a balance that is essential for life. The fiery heart of our planet is in a constant, quiet dialogue with its vast, cold seas. The ocean is not a static pool of water. It is a dynamic, living system, constantly in motion. And this motion is not random. It is organized into a vast, interconnected network of currents that act as the Earth's circulatory system. These currents, driven by wind, temperature, and salinity carry heat, nutrients, and life around the globe. They are the planet's beating heart, a slow, powerful pulse that regulates our climate and shapes the world we live in. The Gulf Stream is a river of warm water in the ocean. The Gulf Stream is one of the most powerful and well-known ocean currents. It is a river of warm, salty water that flows from the Gulf of Mexico, up the eastern coast of the United States, and then across the Atlantic toward Europe. It carries an enormous amount of heat. More than all the world's rivers combined, this heat is released into the atmosphere, warming the climate of Western Europe and keeping its ports ice-free in the winter. Without the Gulf Stream, London would be as cold as Labrador, and Scandinavia would be locked in ice. It is a quiet, invisible river that makes life in the North Atlantic possible. Great ocean gyres create deserts in the middle of the sea. In the center of each of the world's major ocean basins, there is a massive, slow-moving vortex of water called a gyre. These gyres are formed by the global wind patterns and the Coriolis effect, the spin of the Earth. The water in the center of a gyre is calm and stable, and there is very little mixing with the surrounding water. This means that nutrients do not get brought up from the deep, and the surface waters become a kind of marine desert, low in phytoplankton and other life. These are the clearest, bluest parts of the ocean, a beautiful, but largely empty wilderness. These same gyres are also where plastic pollution accumulates. The same circular currents that create the ocean's clear blue deserts also act as giant traps for floating debris. Plastic waste that enters the ocean from our rivers and coastlines is pulled into these gyres and accumulates in vast patches. The most famous of these is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a sprawling area in the North Pacific where the concentration of plastic is incredibly high. The plastic does not form a solid island, but is more like a soup of tiny plastic fragments, microplastics, that are incredibly difficult to clean up. These gyres are a sobering reminder of how our actions on land are connected to the most remote parts of the ocean. Upwelling brings cold, nutrient-rich water to the surface, creating vibrant fisheries. In certain parts of the world, along the western coasts of continents, winds push the surface water away from the shore to replace it. Cold, deep, nutrient-rich water is pulled up from below. This process is called upwelling. This deep water is filled with the nutrients from decomposed marine life, and when it reaches the sunlit surface, it fuels massive blooms of phytoplankton. These phytoplankton, in turn, support a rich and vibrant food web, from small fish like anchovies and sardines to larger predators like sea lions and seabirds. The world's most productive fisheries are all found in these upwelling zones. It is a process that turns the deep, dark wealth of the ocean into an abundance of life at the surface. El Niño Isa Massive, temporary shift in the ocean's circulatory system. Every few years, the normal pattern of winds and currents in the Pacific Ocean will shift. The trade winds weaken, and a large mass of warm water that is normally in the Western Pacific will slosh back across to the east. This is called an El Niño event. It has a dramatic impact on the ocean and the atmosphere. The upwelling of cold, nutrient-rich water along the coast of South America stops, causing the fisheries to collapse. And the shift in ocean temperature changes weather patterns around the globe, causing droughts in some places and floods in others. El Niño is a powerful reminder of how tightly coupled the ocean and the atmosphere are, and how a change in one can have far-reaching consequences for the other. The deep ocean currents are driven by salt and cold, while the surface currents are driven by the wind, The deep ocean currents, which make up the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt, are driven by a different force density. In the polar regions, the water gets very cold, and as sea ice forms, the salt is left behind, making the remaining water even saltier. This cold, salty water is very dense, and it sinks to the bottom of the ocean. This sinking is what pulls the water behind it, creating a slow, deep current that flows along the ocean floor. It is a process that is silent, invisible, and incredibly slow, but it drives the circulation of the entire ocean. The Antarctic Circumpolar Current is the largest ocean current on Earth. Encircling the continent of Antarctica is the most powerful current in the world. The Antarctic Circumpolar Current flows from west to east, unimpeded by any land masses. It carries more water than any other current, over 100 times the flow of all the world's rivers combined. It connects the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, allowing water to be exchanged between them. And it acts as a massive barrier, isolating the cold waters around Antarctica from the warmer waters to the north. This helps to keep Antarctica frozen, and it plays a crucial role in regulating the Earth's climate. It is a perpetual, planet-sized river, a roaring 40s of the sea. Rip currents don't pull you under, they pull you out. A rip current is a strong, narrow channel of water that flows away from the shore. It is often a source of fear for beachgoers, but it does not pull you under the water. It simply pulls you out, away from the beach. They form when waves break on the shore, and the water needs a way to get back out to sea. It will find a path of least resistance, often a channel between sandbars, and flow out in a concentrated stream. The key to surviving a rip current is not to fight it, but to swim parallel to the shore until you are out of the current, and then swim back to land. It is a powerful, but temporary, feature of the coastline, a river flowing back to its source. The Mediterranean Sea is a remnant of a much larger, ancient ocean. The Mediterranean Sea, with its warm, blue waters and rich history, is the last remaining piece of a vast ocean that once existed between Europe and Africa. The Tethys Ocean. Over millions of years, as the tectonic plates shifted, this ocean slowly closed up. The Alps, the Himalayas, and other mountain ranges were formed as the continents collided. The Mediterranean is all that is left of this once mighty sea, and even today, it is slowly shrinking. As the African plate continues to push northward into the Eurasian plate, it is a sea with a deep and ancient past, a memory of a lost world. The Black Sea has a dead zone that has preserved ancient shipwrecks. The Black Sea is a unique body of water. It is connected to the Mediterranean by a narrow strait, and it receives a large amount of fresh water from rivers. This creates a stratified water column, with a layer of fresh, oxygen-rich water on top, and a layer of dense, salty, anoxic oxygen-free water below. This deep, anoxic layer is essentially a dead zone, where no complex life can survive. But this lack of oxygen also means that there is very little decomposition. Shipwrecks from ancient Greek and Roman times have been found on the bottom of the Black Sea, perfectly preserved, their masts still standing, their coils of rope still on the deck. It is a silent, underwater museum, a place where time has stopped. The Coriolis effect, caused by the Earth's spin, shapes the path of every ocean current. The Coriolis effect is an inertial force that acts on objects that are in motion relative to a rotating reference frame. On Earth, it deflects moving objects, like wind and water currents, to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. This is why the great ocean gyres spin clockwise in the north and counterclockwise in the south. It is why hurricanes and typhoons also spin in these directions. The Coriolis effect is a subtle but pervasive force that shapes the circulation of the entire planet. It is the signature of our world's constant spin. The ocean is not just a place, it is a history. Its waters hold the memory of the planet's formation, and its depths are a living museum of life's oldest experiments. The story of life on Earth is, for most of its length, a story of the ocean. It was here that the first cells sparked into being. Here that photosynthesis was invented. And here that the first animals swam, hunted, and hid. To look into the ocean is to look back in time, to see the echoes of a world that existed long before forests, flowers, or footsteps on the land. The Earth's oceans are billions of years old, but their origins are still a mystery. The water that fills our oceans has been on this planet for nearly 4 billion years. But where did it come from? One theory is that it was delivered to the early Earth by icy comets and asteroids that bombarded the planet during its formation. Another theory is that the water was locked inside the rocks of the Earth's mantle from the very beginning and was slowly released over time through volcanic activity. It is likely that both processes played a part, but however it arrived, this water has been cycling through the oceans, the atmosphere, and the land ever since. A constant, life-giving presence on our small, blue world. The first life on Earth arose in the ocean. For the first billion years of Earth's history, the land was a barren, empty place. All of life was in the sea. The first living things were simple, single-celled organisms, like bacteria and archaea. They likely arose in the warm, chemical-rich waters around hydrothermal vents, or perhaps in shallow, sunlit pools for 2 billion years. These simple microbes were the only life on the planet. They slowly transformed the world, releasing oxygen into the atmosphere and creating the conditions for more complex life to evolve. Every living thing on Earth today, from a redwood tree to a blue whale, can trace its ancestry back to these humble beginnings in an ancient sea. The ocean was once a strange and alien place, filled with creatures unlike anything we know today. About 540 million years ago, during a period called the Cambrian explosion, the ocean suddenly came alive with a bizarre and wonderful array of animals. Many of these creatures from the Burgess Shale, a fossil bed in the Canadian Rockies, seemed like they came from another planet. There was the Wiwaxia, a spiky, slug-like creature covered in scales. There was the Hallucigenia, a worm-like animal that walked on stilts. And there was the Anomalocaris, a giant predator with 2 grasping claws and a circular, saw-toothed mouth. Most of these strange experiments in evolution went extinct, leaving no descendants. They are a reminder that the story of life is not a straight line, but a branching and sometimes pruned tree. The coelacanth is a living fossil that has survived for 400 million years. The coelacanth is a large, deep-sea fish with fleshy, lobe-like fins. For decades, it was known only from fossils and was thought to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. But in 1938, a live coelacanth was caught by a fisherman off the coast of South Africa. It was a stunning discovery. like finding a living dinosaur. The coelacanth has changed very little in the last 400 million years. It is a survivor from a long-lost world, a quiet, patient creature of the deep that reminds us how much of the ocean's ancient history is still alive today. The horseshoe crab is older than the dinosaurs. The horseshoe crab, with its hard, helmet-like shell and long, spiky tail, is not a true crab. It is more closely related to spiders and scorpions, and it is incredibly ancient. Horseshoe crabs have been scuttling along the seafloor for over 450 million years. Since before the dinosaurs first appeared, they have survived 5 mass extinction events. Their design is simple and effective, and has served them well for nearly 500 million years. Every spring, they come ashore in vast numbers to lay their eggs on the beach, a ritual that is as old as the mountains. The nautilus is a living link to the ancient, shelled creatures of the past. The chambered nautilus is a beautiful and mysterious creature of the deep ocean. It is a cephalopod, related to squid and octopuses, but unlike its relatives, it has an external shell. The shell is a masterpiece of natural engineering, a logarithmic spiral divided into a series of gas-filled chambers that the nautilus uses to control its buoyancy. It lives in the outermost chamber, and as it grows, it adds a new, larger one. The nautilus has been navigating the ocean in this way for 500 million years. It is a creature that carries its entire history with it, a spiral of memory written in shell. Sharks have been swimming in the oceans for longer than trees have been on land. Sharks are ancient and perfectly evolved predators. Their lineage stretches back over 400 million years. That means that sharks were swimming in the Earth's oceans before the first trees grew on land. They have survived every mass extinction event, and their basic body plan has remained remarkably consistent over time. They are a testament to the power of a simple, effective design. To see a shark glide silently through the water is to see a creature that has mastered its world. A silent, graceful hunter from the dawn of time. The ocean's chemistry has changed dramatically over time. The ocean today is salty and rich in oxygen, but it was not always this way. For the first 2 billion years of its existence, the ocean had almost no free oxygen. It was an anoxic world, dominated by microbes that lived on iron, sulfur, and other chemicals. Then, about 4 billion years ago, a new type of bacteria, cyanobacteria, evolved the ability to photosynthesize. It began to release oxygen as a waste product. This oxygen slowly accumulated in the ocean and the atmosphere. In an event known as the Great Oxidation Event, this was a catastrophe for much of the life that existed at the time. But it also paved the way for the evolution of animals, like us, that depend on oxygen to breathe. The ocean floor is a library of Earth's history. The floor of the deep ocean is covered in a thick blanket of sediment. The slow, steady accumulation of dust, clay, and the shells of microscopic organisms that have rained down from above for millions of years. This sediment is a detailed record of the Earth's past. Scientists can drill deep into the seafloor and extract long cores of this sediment. By analyzing the layers, they can learn about past climates, ocean temperatures, and even ancient volcanic eruptions. The tiny shells of foraminifera, a type of plankton, are especially useful, as their chemical composition can tell us about the conditions in which they lived. The ocean floor is a quiet, patient archive, a library written in mud and shell. Fossilized whale skeletons on the seafloor tell a story of ancient migrations. Just as today, Whales in the past roamed the vast oceans. When they died, their skeletons would sometimes settle on the seafloor, creating what are now known as fossil whale falls. These ancient skeletons, discovered in rocks that were once deep marine sediments, provide snapshots of past ecosystems. They are often surrounded by the fossilized shells of clams and snails that once fed on the whale's remains, indicating that the whale fall ecosystem has existed for millions of years. These discoveries help paleontologists reconstruct the ancient migration routes and feeding grounds of long-extinct whale species, offering clues to how these magnificent creatures and their ocean home have evolved together over time. It is a reminder that the deep, slow rhythms of life and death in the ocean have been playing out for eons. The Tethys Sea was a vast tropical ocean that vanished millions of years ago. A great ocean called the Tethys Sea separated the ancient continents of Laurasia and Gondwana. It was a warm, shallow, tropical seaway, teeming with marine reptiles, corals, and ammonites. As the continents drifted and collided, the Tethys slowly closed. The Indian subcontinent crashed into Asia, creating the Himalayas. The African plate moved north, forming the Alps. The fossilized remains of the creatures that lived in the Tethys can now be found on the tops of these mountains, thousands of feet above sea level. The Mediterranean Sea is the last small remnant of this once mighty ocean. It is a ghost of a sea, a memory of a lost world, written in the rocks of our highest peaks. We often think of the ocean's life in terms of what we can see: the whales, the sharks, the colorful fish. But the vast majority of life in the sea is invisible to the naked eye. This is the world of plankton, a drifting, microscopic community of plants, animals, and bacteria that forms the foundation of the entire marine food web. They are the invisible engines of the ocean, the silent majority that shapes the chemistry of our planet and supports all the life we hold so dear. Plankton are not a single species, but a vast and diverse community of drifters. The word plankton comes from the Greek word for drifter or wanderer. It does not refer to a specific type of organism, but to any living thing that drifts with the ocean currents, unable to swim against them. This includes a staggering diversity of life. There are the phytoplankton, microscopic plants that photosynthesize. There are the zooplankton, tiny animals that feed on the phytoplankton. And there are the bacterioplankton, the bacteria that recycle nutrients. This drifting world is a complex and beautiful ecosystem, a floating pasture that is the base of nearly all life in the sea. Phytoplankton produce more than half of the oxygen we breathe. When you take a breath, more than half of the oxygen that fills your lungs comes not from the trees, but from the ocean. It is produced by phytoplankton. These tiny, single-celled algae float in the sunlit surface waters of the sea, and through photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. They are tiny, but their numbers are astronomical. The collective breathing of these invisible forests is one of the most powerful forces on our planet. It has shaped our atmosphere and made it possible for complex life, including us, to evolve. Every second breath you take is a gift from the sea. A single drop of seawater can contain millions of microorganisms. The ocean is not just water, it is a living soup. A single drop of seawater can contain millions of viruses, hundreds of thousands of bacteria, and thousands of phytoplankton. This is the unseen world of the microbial loop, where nutrients are cycled and recycled with incredible speed and efficiency. It is an ecosystem of unimaginable complexity and scale, a universe in a water droplet. It is a humbling thought that the vast, empty-seeming blue of the ocean is, in fact, the most densely populated habitat on Earth. Zooplankton are the largest migration on Earth. Every night, in every ocean on Earth, the largest migration on the planet takes place, and it is completely invisible to us. This is the diel vertical migration. As the sun sets, trillions of tiny zooplankton, from copepods to krill, begin to swim up from the deep, dark waters where they have been hiding from predators during the day. They come to the surface to feed on the phytoplankton that have been growing in the sunlight. Then, as the sun rises, they descend back into the darkness to hide once more. This daily, vertical journey can be hundreds, even thousands, of meters. The collective movement of this vast biomass is a fundamental rhythm of the ocean, a daily pulse that transfers energy from the surface to the deep sea. Diatoms are phytoplankton that build beautiful, intricate shells of glass. Diatoms are one of the most common and important types of phytoplankton. They are single-celled algae that have a unique and beautiful feature. They build intricate, ornate cell walls made of silica, the same material as glass. These shells, called frustules, come in an astonishing variety of shapes: circles, squares, triangles, stars. They are like tiny, living jewels. When diatoms die, their glass shells sink to the bottom of the ocean, forming a thick ooze. Over millions of years, this ooze can become fossilized into a soft, chalky rock called diatomaceous earth. It is a reminder that even the smallest of creatures can leave behind a legacy that is both beautiful and enduring. Coccolithophores have covered the oceans in chalk for millions of years. Coccolithophores are another type of phytoplankton that have had a profound impact on our planet. These tiny, single-celled algae surround themselves with microscopic plates of calcium carbonate, the same material as chalk. These plates are called coccoliths. When coccolithophores bloom in vast numbers, they can turn the surface of the ocean a milky, turquoise color that is visible from space. When they die, their calcium carbonate plates sink to the sea floor. Over millions of years, these plates have accumulated to form massive chalk deposits, like the White Cliffs of Dover. It is an incredible thought that these huge geological features were built by organisms so small you need a microscope to see them. Krill are the cornerstone of the Antarctic food web. Krill are small, shrimp-like zooplankton that are found in all the world's oceans. But in the Southern Ocean around Antarctica, they are incredibly abundant. The total biomass of Antarctic krill is estimated to be more than the total biomass of all humans on Earth. They are the food source for a vast array of Antarctic animals, from penguins and seals to the great baleen whales. The blue whale, the largest animal on Earth, feeds almost exclusively on krill, eating up to 4 tons of them in a single day. Krill are the tiny, beating heart of the Antarctic ecosystem. Jellyfish are a type of zooplankton. While we often think of plankton as being microscopic, the definition is based on movement, not size. A jellyfish, no matter how large, is considered a type of zooplankton because it cannot swim against a strong current. It is a drifter. For most of its life, a jellyfish is a passenger on the ocean's currents, its gentle pulsing barely able to steer its course. It is a beautiful and strange thought that these ethereal, sometimes massive, creatures are part of the same wandering community as the copepods and diatoms that are 1,000 times smaller. Foraminifera have left a detailed record of the Earth's climate in their shells. Foraminifera, or forams, are single-celled zooplankton that build tiny, multi-chambered shells, usually out of calcium carbonate. They are incredibly abundant, and when they die, their shells sink to the sea floor. By drilling cores of sediment and analyzing the foram shells in the different layers, scientists can learn about the ocean's past. The chemical composition of the shells can reveal the temperature of the water in which they grew, and the species of forams present can tell us about the ocean's chemistry and circulation. The shells of these tiny, forgotten creatures are one of our most powerful tools for understanding the history of our planet's climate. Bioluminescent plankton can light up an entire bay. In certain parts of the world, like Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, the water can glow with an eerie, blue-green light. This light is caused by a type of phytoplankton called a dinoflagellate. When the water is disturbed by a passing boat or the stroke of a swimmer's arm, the dinoflagellates will flash, creating a trail of sparkling light. When millions of them flash at once, the entire bay can shimmer and glow. This bioluminescence is a defense mechanism, a flash of light designed to startle a predator. But for us, it is a moment of pure magic, a sea of stars beneath a starry sky. The ocean's invisible life is the greatest wilderness left to explore. We have mapped the surface of the moon more accurately than we have mapped the ocean floor, and the diversity of life in the plankton community is a frontier we have only just begun to explore. Every time scientists take a sample of seawater and analyze the DNA within it, they find thousands of new, unknown species of bacteria, archaea, and viruses. This is the ocean's microbial dark matter. We know it is there. We know it is vast. But we have no idea what it is or what it does. The greatest discoveries about life on our planet may not come from the rainforests or the deep sea, but from the invisible, drifting world that surrounds us all. In the ocean, to be seen is often to be eaten. And so, life in the sea has become a master of disguise. From the shallow, sunlit reefs to the dark abyssal plains, creatures have evolved an incredible array of strategies to hide in plain sight. They change their color, their texture, and even their shape to blend in with their surroundings. They mimic other animals or become invisible altogether. The ocean is a theater of illusion, a perpetual game of hide and seek, where survival depends on the art of not being seen. The octopus is the undisputed master of camouflage. The octopus has one of the most sophisticated camouflage systems in the animal kingdom. Its skin is covered in thousands of tiny, pigment-filled sacs called chromatophores, which it can expand or contract in an instant. This allows it to change its color and pattern to perfectly match its surroundings. Whether it is a sandy bottom, a rocky crevice, or a vibrant coral reef. But it doesn't stop there. It can also change the texture of its skin, creating bumps and spikes to mimic the texture of a rock or a piece of coral. It is an act of transformation that is both instantaneous and almost perfect. An octopus can disappear before your very eyes. The cuttlefish is a close relative of the octopus, and it is just as skilled at camouflage. It also has chromatophores, but it has two other tools as well. It has iridophores, which are cells that reflect light, allowing it to create shimmering, metallic greens, blues, and golds. And it has leucophores, which scatter white light, allowing it to create a bright, white background. With these three tools, the cuttlefish can create an even wider range of colors and patterns than the octopus. It can even create moving patterns on its skin, like a passing cloud, to mesmerize its prey or communicate with other cuttlefish. It is a living canvas, painting itself with light. The stonefish looks exactly like a rock on the seafloor. The stonefish is the most venomous fish in the world, and it is also a master of camouflage. It lives on the rocky bottoms of tropical reefs, and its mottled, lumpy skin makes it look almost identical to a coral-encrusted rock. It will lie motionless for hours, waiting for a small fish or crustacean to swim by. When its prey is close enough, it will open its mouth with lightning speed and suck it in. Its camouflage is so perfect that divers can swim right over it without ever knowing it is there. But to accidentally step on one is to risk a painful and sometimes fatal sting from the venomous spines on its back. The pygmy seahorse is the size of a fingernail and lives its entire life on a single piece of coral. The pygmy seahorse is one of the smallest and most well-camouflaged creatures in the sea. It is only about 1 centimeter long, and its body is covered in small, warty tubercles that perfectly mimic the texture and color of the Gorgonian coral on which it lives. Its camouflage is so effective that it was not discovered until 1969, when a piece of Gorgonian coral was collected for an aquarium, and the tiny seahorse was found living on it. There are several different species of pygmy seahorse, and each one is specialized to live on a specific type of coral. It is a life lived in miniature. A tiny, secret world hidden in the branches of a coral tree. The decorator crab creates a living costume for itself. The decorator crab is a mobile artist. It will carefully select small pieces of its environment: sponges, anemones, seaweed, and attach them to its shell and legs. It has special, hooked bristles that act like Velcro, holding the decorations in place. This living costume provides the crab with excellent camouflage, allowing it to blend in with its surroundings. But it can also be a form of defense. Some of the sponges and anemones that it uses are toxic or have stinging cells, which can deter a predator. The decorator crab is a constant gardener, always tending to its mobile home, a walking piece of the reef. The flounder is a flatfish that can change its color to match the sea floor. The flounder spends most of its life lying on the sandy or muddy bottom of the ocean, and it is a master of blending in. Its skin is covered in chromatophores, and it can change its color and pattern in a matter of seconds to match the texture of the seafloor. If it is on a sandy bottom, it will be a pale, speckled brown. If it moves to a gravelly bottom, it will become a mottled mix of light and dark. It can even create a checkerboard pattern if placed on a checkerboard. This ability, combined with its habit of burying itself in the sand with only its eyes showing, makes it almost impossible to see. The mimic octopus can impersonate other sea creatures. The mimic octopus, found in the waters of Southeast Asia, takes camouflage to a whole new level. It doesn't just blend in with its surroundings, it actively impersonates other animals. To deter a predator, it might spread its arms out and flatten its body to look like a venomous flatfish, or it might tuck its arms in and swim with a jet-like propulsion to mimic a poisonous lionfish. It has even been seen to mimic a sea snake by burying its body in the sand and waving 2 of its arms in the water. It has a repertoire of over a dozen different animals that it can impersonate. It is a master actor, a shapeshifter, a creature of 1,000 faces. Many creatures of the Twilight Zone use a form of camouflage called counter-illumination. In the dim, downwelling light of the Twilight Zone, a creature is most vulnerable from below. Its dark body creates a silhouette against the faint light from the surface, making it an easy target for a predator looking up. To combat this, many creatures, like the hatchetfish and some species of squid, have evolved a clever form of camouflage called counter-illumination. They have light-producing organs, photophores, on their bellies. They can control the brightness of these lights to perfectly match the intensity of the light from above. This effectively erases their silhouette, making them invisible from below. It is a living invisibility cloak, a way of using light to disappear into light. Some deep-sea creatures are deep red because red light doesn't penetrate into the deep sea. In the deep ocean, where there is no red light, the color red is the same as black. Many deep-sea creatures, like the vampire squid and some species of shrimp, are a deep, velvety red. At the surface, this would make them highly visible, but in the abyss, it is a form of camouflage. Any faint, blue-green light from a bioluminescent creature will be absorbed by their red skin, and they will appear black, perfectly hidden in the surrounding darkness. It is a strange and beautiful paradox that the most vibrant of colors can be a cloak of invisibility. The leafy sea dragon is a masterpiece of natural artistry. The leafy sea dragon, a relative of the seahorse, is found in the waters off the coast of Australia, and it is one of the most ornately camouflaged creatures in the world. Its body is adorned with long, leaf-like appendages that perfectly mimic the seaweed and kelp in which it lives. It is not just the shape, but also the color and the movement. It will drift slowly and gracefully in the current, swaying back and forth just like a piece of floating seaweed. Its camouflage is so perfect that even when you are looking right at it, it can be hard to see where the animal ends and the plant begins. The ocean's open water is a world of silver and blue. In the open ocean, the pelagic zone, there is nowhere to hide. There are no rocks, no coral, no seaweed. So, the creatures that live here have evolved a different kind of camouflage. Many of them, like tuna, mackerel, and herring, have a coloration known as countershading. They are dark blue or green on top, which helps them blend in with the dark water below when seen from above by a predator like a seabird. And they are silvery or white on the bottom, which helps them blend in with the bright, sunlit surface when seen from below by a predator looking up. This simple, two-tone pattern is an elegant solution to the problem of hiding in a world of open blue. Now we drift into a world lit not by the sun, but by life itself. This is the world of bioluminescence. The quiet, cold light made by living things in the deep ocean where sunlight never reaches. This living light is the dominant source of illumination. It is used to find food, to attract mates, to communicate, and to defend against predators. It is a language of light, a silent, shimmering conversation that turns the endless darkness of the deep sea into a galaxy of tiny, moving stars. Bioluminescence is the most common form of communication on the planet, while we on land communicate with sound and sight. In the vast, dark spaces of the deep ocean, light is the most effective way to send a message. It is estimated that up to 90% of the creatures that live in the midwater and deep sea have the ability to produce light, from tiny bacteria and plankton to fish and giant squid. The ocean is filled with a dazzling array of living lanterns. This makes bioluminescence, by some measures, the most common form of communication on Earth. It is a hidden language that has been spoken in the deep for millions of years. Living light is not hot. It is a chemical miracle of efficiency. The light produced by a firefly or a deep-sea fish is often called cold light. This is because the chemical reaction that creates it is incredibly efficient, releasing almost all of its energy as light, with very little lost as heat. This is very different from a light bulb, which wastes most of its energy as heat. The reaction involves a molecule called luciferin, which emits light when it is oxidized by an enzyme called luciferase. This basic chemical toolkit has evolved independently at least 40 times in the history of life, a testament to the power and usefulness of making one's own light. The flashlight fish has a pouch of glowing bacteria under its eye. The flashlight fish, which lives in the reefs of the Indo-Pacific, has a special kidney bean-shaped organ under each eye that is filled with a dense culture of bioluminescent bacteria. These bacteria produce a constant, bright blue-green light. The fish has a black, shutter-like lid that it can slide up over the organ, allowing it to turn the light on and off. It uses this living flashlight to search for food in the dark, to communicate with other flashlight fish, and to confuse predators. To see a school of flashlight fish at night is to see a swarm of blinking, dancing lights, a secret constellation in the shallow sea. The cookie-cutter shark uses its glowing belly to hunt for prey much larger than itself. The cookie-cutter shark is a small, cigar-shaped shark that lives in the deep ocean. Its belly is covered in photophores, which produce a bright, green glow. This glow serves as a clever form of camouflage. From below, it mimics the downwelling light from the surface, making the shark invisible. But there is one small, dark patch near its fins that does not glow. To a large predator like a tuna or a dolphin looking up, this dark patch looks like a small fish, a tempting meal. When the predator comes to investigate, the cookie-cutter shark will swim up, latch onto its side with its sucker-like lips, and use its saw-like teeth to carve out a perfect, cookie-sized plug of flesh. It is a tiny, glowing hunter that preys on the giants of the sea. The deep-sea dragonfish produces a red light that is invisible to most other creatures. Most bioluminescence in the deep sea is blue or green. As these colors travel farthest in the water, most deep-sea creatures have eyes that are only sensitive to these colors. But the deep-sea dragonfish has a secret weapon. In addition to the blue-green lights on its body, it has a special photophore under its eye that produces red light. Most other animals in the deep sea cannot see this red light. This gives the dragonfish a private, invisible spotlight that it can use to illuminate its prey without being detected. It is a secret channel of vision, a silent, deadly advantage in the dark. When threatened, some deep-sea shrimp will vomit a cloud of glowing liquid. The deep-sea shrimp, Acanthifera purpurea, has a unique and spectacular defense mechanism. When it is attacked by a predator, it will spew a cloud of bioluminescent fluid from a gland near its mouth. This bright, glowing cloud will momentarily blind and confuse the predator, allowing the shrimp to escape into the darkness. It is the underwater equivalent of a smoke bomb, a burst of light that creates a diversion and covers a retreat. It is a beautiful and effective strategy, a way of using light to create a temporary shield. The Atolla jellyfish has a burglar alarm defense. The Atolla jellyfish, which lives in the deep sea, has a defense mechanism that is designed to call for help. When it is caught by a predator, it will not just try to sting its way out. It will set off a series of bright, spiraling flashes of blue light, like a pinwheel or a siren. This burglar alarm display is not meant to scare the predator that has caught it, but to attract the attention of a larger predator. The hope is that a bigger fish will come to investigate the lights and will attack the first predator, giving the jellyfish a chance to escape in the confusion. It is a desperate and brilliant gamble, a call for a bigger monster to save it from the smaller one. Milky seas are one of the most mysterious and rare forms of bioluminescence. Milky seas are a strange and beautiful phenomenon where the surface of the ocean will glow with a faint, milky white light for as far as the eye can see. The glow is not the sparkling of individual plankton, but a continuous, uniform luminescence that can last for days and cover thousands of square miles. It is so bright that it can be seen from satellites. Scientists believe that milky seas are caused by a massive bloom of bioluminescent bacteria, trillions of them, all glowing in unison. But we still don't know what triggers these massive blooms, or why they are so rare. It is a mystery that has captivated sailors for centuries, a sea that has turned to milk and starlight. Some worms on the seafloor release glowing green bombs. The green bomber worm, a deep-sea worm discovered in 2009, as a Nobel defense. It has a series of small, balloon-like sacs attached to its body. When threatened, it can release these sacs, which will then burst in a bright, green flash of bioluminescent light. These bombs are a distraction, drawing the predator's attention while the worm swims away. The worm can regrow the bombs, so it always has a supply of ammunition. It is another example of the incredible diversity of ways that life in the deep has harnessed the power of light. The light made by living things may have begun as a way to deal with a poisonous new gas, oxygen. The evolution of bioluminescence is a deep mystery, but one theory is that it began as a form of detoxification. When photosynthesis first evolved, the oxygen that it produced was a poison to much of the early life on Earth. The chemical reaction that produces light, the oxidation of luciferin, consumes oxygen. So, it is possible that the very first bioluminescence was a way for ancient microbes to protect themselves, to use up this dangerous new gas. Over time, this light-producing reaction was co-opted for other purposes: communication, camouflage, hunting. But it may have begun as a simple, elegant shield against a world that was becoming dangerously bright. The ocean at night is a silent, undiscovered country of light. We have only just begun to explore the world of bioluminescence. Every time a new deep-sea submersible goes down, it comes back with images of strange and beautiful new creatures of light. We are still learning the language of these flashes and glows, still deciphering the silent conversations of the deep. It is a reminder that the ocean is not a dark and empty place. It is a universe filled with its own stars, its own constellations, its own galaxies of living light, and it is waiting patiently for us to come and see. As our journey nears its end, we drift into the realm of the unknown. For all that we have learned about the ocean, it remains our planet's greatest mystery. We have mapped the surface of Mars with more detail than our own seafloor. We have identified millions of species on land, while the deep ocean remains a vast, unexplored wilderness. Here, in the quiet darkness, he questions that we are only just beginning to ask. What secrets are hidden in the deepest trenches? What strange forms of life are waiting to be discovered? The ocean does not give up its secrets easily. It holds them close. In the cold and the dark and the silence, the Mariana Trench is the deepest part of the ocean, a place of profound mystery. Located in the western Pacific, the Mariana Trench is a crescent-shaped scar in the Earth's crust. Its deepest point, the Challenger Deep, is nearly 11,000 meters, or almost 7 miles, below the surface. If you were to place Mount Everest in the trench, its peak would still be more than a mile underwater. The pressure here is over 1,000 times that at the surface, the darkness is absolute. And yet, life exists here. The few expeditions that have made it to the bottom have found tiny, shrimp-like amphipods and strange, translucent sea cucumbers. But this world remains almost completely unexplored. It is the most remote and inaccessible place on our planet. There are likely millions of undiscovered species in the ocean. Scientists estimate that we have identified only a fraction of the life that exists in the sea. Some estimates suggest that over 90% of the species in the ocean have yet to be discovered. Most of these unknown creatures are likely to be small microbes, worms, crustaceans. But it is also possible that there are larger animals, giant squid or strange deep-sea sharks, that have so far eluded us. The deep ocean is a vast and complex habitat, and every time we explore a new part of it, we find something new. It is a humbling thought that our planet's encyclopedia of life is still mostly unwritten. There may be rivers and lakes of brine at the bottom of the ocean. In certain parts of the ocean, like the Gulf of Mexico, scientists have discovered strange, otherworldly landscapes on the seafloor. These are brine pools, lakes of super salty water that are so dense they do not mix with the surrounding seawater. They form when salt from ancient, buried salt deposits seeps up through the seafloor. These brine pools can have their own shorelines, and sometimes even their own waves. For most marine life, the brine is toxic. The edges of the pools are often littered with the bodies of fish and crabs that have strayed too close. But some creatures, like certain mussels and tube worms, have adapted to live in this extreme environment, feeding on the chemosynthetic bacteria that thrive in the brine. It is a lake within an ocean, a world within a world. The ocean floor is covered in strange, metallic nodules that we don't fully understand. In the vast, muddy plains of the deep ocean, in some places, the seafloor is paved with millions of potato-sized lumps of metal. These are called polymetallic nodules. They grow incredibly slowly, at a rate of only a few millimeters per million years, precipitating minerals out of the seawater around a central core. Like a pearl, they are rich in valuable metals like manganese, nickel, copper, and cobalt. But we still don't fully understand how they form, or why they are so abundant in some areas and completely absent in others. They are a quiet, geological puzzle, a treasure chest scattered across the bottom of the sea. The internal waves of the ocean can be hundreds of meters high. We are used to the waves on the surface of the ocean, which are formed by the wind. But there are also waves that move through the interior of the ocean, along the boundaries between layers of water with different densities. These are called internal waves. They can be enormous, sometimes hundreds of meters high, far larger than any surface wave. They move slowly and are completely invisible from the surface, but they are incredibly powerful, carrying vast amounts of energy and mixing the waters of the deep ocean. They are a hidden and vital part of the ocean's circulatory system. The deep ocean is a repository of our planet's history. The cold, dark, oxygen-poor environment of the deep sea is an incredible preservative. Ancient shipwrecks, from Greek galleys to World War II battleships, have been found on the seafloor in a remarkable state of preservation. The cold water slows down decomposition, and the lack of oxygen prevents rust and decay. The ocean floor is a museum, holding the stories of our maritime past. But it is not just human history. The sediment of the deep sea is a record of the Earth's climate going back millions of years. And in the DNA of deep-sea creatures, we can find clues to the evolution of life itself. We don't know how deep life can go. We have found life in the deepest part of the ocean, the Mariana Trench. We have found microbes living in the sediment, hundreds of meters below the seafloor. We have even found them living in the rock of the Earth's crust itself. But we have not yet found the limit. How deep does life go? Is there a deep biosphere that extends for miles into the Earth's crust? A hidden world of microbes that we have not even begun to imagine. It is a question that pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible, and a reminder that life is tenacious and may be found in the most unlikely of places. The great ocean garbage patches are a new and terrible mystery. In the center of the ocean's great gyres, vast amounts of plastic pollution have accumulated. These garbage patches are not solid islands of trash, but more like a smog of microplastics. Tiny fragments of plastic that float in the upper water column. We are only just beginning to understand the impact of this pollution on marine life and on the ocean ecosystem as a whole. How does it affect the plankton that are the base of the food web? How does it move through the ocean? And how can we possibly clean it up? It is a mystery of our own making. A quiet, plastic tide that is a testament to our carelessness. The deep scattering layer is a false bottom of the ocean that moves. For decades, sailors using sonar have noticed a strange phenomenon. During the day, their sonar would show the seafloor at a certain depth, but at night, a second, false bottom would appear much closer to the surface. This is the deep scattering layer. It is not a geological feature, but a dense layer of living things, fish, squid, zooplankton that are making their nightly migration up to the surface to feed. The sound waves of the sonar bounce off this dense layer of life, creating the illusion of a solid bottom. It is the acoustic signature of the largest migration on Earth, a moving, living layer of the ocean. We have only explored about 5% of the ocean. It is a statistic that is both humbling and exciting, despite all of our technology, despite the centuries we have spent sailing its surface. 95% of the ocean remains completely unexplored. The deep sea is a world that we know less about than the surface of the moon. What wonders are waiting for us in that darkness? What strange new creatures? What beautiful landscapes? What secrets about our planet and ourselves? The ocean is the last great frontier on Earth, a place of infinite possibility and endless mystery. The ocean may hold the key to the future of medicine. The incredible diversity of life in the ocean, especially in extreme environments like coral reefs and hydrothermal vents, is a treasure trove of new chemical compounds. Many of these compounds have been found to have powerful medicinal properties. Sponges produce anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer drugs. Cone snails produce a venom that is a potent painkiller. And the bacteria at hydrothermal vents may hold the key to new antibiotics. The ocean is a living pharmacy, and we have only just begun to explore its shelves. The cure for a disease that plagues us today may be waiting quietly in a coral reef or a deep-sea sponge. The ocean is the memory of our planet. The water that fills the oceans has been on this planet for billions of years. It has seen the continents drift, the mountains rise, and the great ice ages come and go. It has witnessed the birth of life, the explosion of diversity, and the great extinctions. The ocean holds all of this history in its depths, in the sediment of its floor, in the chemistry of its water, and in the DNA of its creatures. To study the ocean is to study the story of our world. It is a story of immense time, of slow, patient change, and of the incredible resilience of life. And it is a story that is still being written. And so, au long, slow drift across the ocean comes to a close. We have floated on its sunlit surface, listened to its deep, ancien song, and journeyed to its darkest, most mysterious depth. We have seen the cities of coral, the forests of kelp, and the galaxies of living light. And through it all, we have been reminded that the ocean is not a separate place, but a part of us, as we are a part of it. The salt in your tears is the same salt that is in the sea. The human body is mostly water, and the chemical composition of that water is remarkably similar to the composition of seawater. The salt in our blood, our sweat, and our tears is a quiet, internal echo of the ocean where our most ancient ancestors first evolved. It is a reminder that we carry the ocean within us. In every cell of our bodies, we are, in a very real sense, a small, walking piece of the sea. The rhythm of your breath is like the rhythm of the tides. As you lie here, breathing slowly and deeply, feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest. In and out. It is a rhythm that is as old as life itself, and it mirrors the great rhythm of the ocean. The slow, steady rise and fall of the tides. The ocean breathes, and you breathe with it. You are connected to its vast, ancien pulse, a small, quiet part of a planetary respiration. The water you drink has been part of the ocean for millions of years. The water on our planet is constantly cycling. The water in a glass you drink today may have once been in a cloud over the Amazon, a glacier in Antarctica, or deep in the Pacific Ocean. It has been on a journey that is millions of years long, and it will continue that journey long after you are gone. When you drink water, you are drinking the history of our planet. You are drinking the same water that has sustained life for eons, the same water that has carved canyons and filled seas. The quiet in your mind can be as deep and still as the abyss. In the deepest parts of the ocean, there is a profound and ancient silence. And in the deepest parts of yourself, in the quiet moments of rest and sleep, you can find a similar stillness. It is a place beyond words, beyond thoughts, a place of simple, peaceful being. As you drift off to sleep, let your mind sink into that quiet, dark, and restful place. Let it be as calm and as deep as the bottom of the sea. Life in the ocean reminds us that even in the dark, there is light. The world of bioluminescence, the living light of the deep sea, is a powerful and beautiful metaphor. It reminds us that even in the darkest of places, in the most challenging of circumstances, life finds a way to create its own light. It is a reminder of hope, of resilience, and of the incredible, creative power of life. May you carry a small piece of that quiet, inner light with you into your dreams. The ocean teaches us the beauty of letting go. The creatures of the ocean, the plankton, the jellyfish, are masters of drifting. They do not fight the currents, they surrender to them. They trust that the ocean will carry them where they need to go. As you fall asleep, you can do the same. Let go of the day. Let go of your worries. Trust that the great, gentle current of sleep will carry you safely through the night. The mysteries of the ocean are a comfort, not a fear. The fact that we have explored so little of the ocean, that there are still so many unanswered questions, is not a cause for anxiety. It is a source of wonder. It means that our world is still full of magic, still full of possibility, still full of secrets waiting to be discovered. It is a reminder that we live in a world that is far larger and far more beautiful than we can ever fully know. And that is a comforting thought. And now, with the final thought softly settled into place, let the world grow quiet around you. You have journeyed far, from the shimmering surface to the silent abyss. And now it is time to come to rest. The ocean will continue its slow, deep breathing without you. The whales will sing their ancient songs. The tides will rise and fall, pulled by a silent and distant moon. You are a part of this story, too, not separate from nature, but made of it. The salt in your blood, the water in your cells, the ancient, quiet rhythms of your heart. So, wherever you are, allow your mind to rest. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts grow soft at the edges. The journey doesn't end. It simply pauses here, until curiosity calls again. Sleep well, and thank you for dreaming with us. Good night.